My name is Rafael, you're watching Rock and Roll Garage, and today I'm going to explain why George Harrison held a grudge against Paul McCartney for years. But first, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave your comment. Tell me if you knew about this or not. Well, basically, George held this grudge because Paul, especially Paul and John, of course, but especially Paul, was not really open to the compositions by Ringo and George. So, according to George, that's why the main songwriters of the Beatles were Lennon and McCartney, the most successful songwriting partnership of all time. But for, someone outside the band might think, well, they were the greatest songwriters and etc. But I mean, if you look at George's solo career afterwards, I mean, so many incredible albums he did, and many songs could have been Beatles songs. Some of those songs from his first albums were meant to be Beatles songs. But according to George, and I'm going to read a few statements he gave over the decades during his career, he said that they would have to do like 50 Lennon-McCartney songs first to then Paul consider to do a Ringo or a George song. And according to George, when it was the time to do one of their songs, one of his songs or a Ringo song, they would work really well in the song, but they had to record all the Lennon-McCartney compositions first. And back in 1979, 9 years after the Beatles were over, this is what George said. He was asked by the magazine if he would like to work with Paul again, maybe form a band with him someday. And this is what he said probably wouldn't work. And this is what he said, a small part of what he said. And my problem was that it would always be very difficult to get in on the act because Paul was very pushy in that respect. When he succumbed to playing one of your tunes, he would always do good, but you'd have to do 59 of Paul's songs before he even listened to one of yours. So in that respect, it would be very difficult to ever play with him. But we're cool as far as being pals goes. So he wasn't really happy with it. And an interesting thing is that George was the first Beatles member to have a #1 hit, solo hit, which was My Sweet Lord, with his first credible the first album after the Beatles end, which was All Things Must Pass, released in 1970. And another interesting statement he gave about this grudge he held against McCartney was in the mid-80s in a TV interview that we transcribed. It was in around 1984 when the movie Give My Regards to Broad Street was released, which was co-written by Paul McCartney, and it had the entire soundtrack was written by him or recorded by him, and he was also in the movie. And they asked him if he had seen the movie, and Paul re-recorded some Beatles songs for that. And this is what George said. This is what he said about the movie. We're long past all the squabbles now. I think they're okay. The new versions of Beatles songs he did in the movie. I didn't notice there were new versions, and he laughed. I only watched it once, but I like it. But I remember dancing, ballroom dancing, all that stuff. I don't remember the old ones. Maybe because he ran out of good ones of his own. And he said it was true, that he thought that Paul maybe wanted to, didn't have any good material anymore, and he would have to re-record Beatles songs. And another interesting thing is that they asked him if he would like to record with Paul someday, because Paul had at the time said that he would like to do something with George. And he joked about it. He said, well, he had 10 years to do that in the Beatles, but he was not really up to. And now 20 years and plus later, he wants to write with me. You know, this is what he said at the time. So, but obviously they were continued to be friends, and they worked with in the song "Free as a Bird," released in the 90s as the Beatles, alongside Ringo as well. But he held this grudge about Paul not really paying that much attention, giving that much attention to his compositions or Ringo's compositions. And well, things could have been very different, but at least George had his really, really great, successful solo career. And that's it. I hope you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, subscribe, comment. And if you want to read more, please go to the description and read the article I wrote about this. Visit rockandrollgarage.com. Thank you for watching, and I see you later.